gentlemen, today we're going to be talking about 4 different epics that I'm really a big fan of. And I want to start today with Andre. He's a gigantic hero in terms of blue power, lots of damage, huge slammer. Okay, when it comes to actually the DPS, and we're going to talk about him, and we're going to get into the other 3 heroes. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and let's get going. So on the passive here, look at this. Right off the bat, 30% crit damage when he has Rage. If he doesn't have Rage, his attacks have 50% chance to reduce their ultimate ability cooldown by 1. Well, what's the ultimate do for reducing that? Well, if you look at here, it's a 5-turn cooldown, 250% damage to an enemy, and grants +2 Rage. So you can see the synergy there. He gets Rage from his ult. If he has Rage, he gets bonus damage. If he doesn't have Rage, it reduces the ult. Makes kind of sense, okay? +1 Rage per critical strike. Okay, so he gets a crit, +1 Rage. Now let's look at the trait before we look at the basic. Counters any attempt to inflict a negative effect with a total dispel, granting +2 Rage. Can be triggered only once per 2 rounds. So 2 Rage, and you're going to use, look at the basic attack here, he's going to expend 1 Rage to deal double damage on the basic. So he has 80% damage. He uses 1 Rage, it doubles that, 160% damage, right? Which is pretty good for a basic. I mean, that's one of the hardest hitting, if not the hardest hitting basic in the game if we don't include the base attack, okay? Plus, let's not even forget, 30% bonus crit damage, up to 50% bonus crit damage if you have him synthesized. Now, here's one thing. He is a synthesis hero, meaning you don't create him from synthesis, but you use him as a hero for synthesis for Tia. So this might be where you see a lot of people end up using the Andre, and so he might not get as much coverage because of that. But Andre is an absolute monster when it comes to using him in the Ash dungeon, for instance, or if you're going to be using him anywhere where he has a positive affinity. So like a red guild boss, for instance, because of the way he works with this increased damage and constantly negating negative effects. So if he's in Ash, and the bomb lands on him, for instance, it's just instantly dispelled just like that and saves you that trouble. So, amazing hero, huge fan of him. He has a starfish on his shoulder for some reason, and that's number 1. Okay, the next one on our list here is Jacob. Maybe no surprise to most people, but he is an absolutely fantastic hero. Now, his passive is pretty cool. It's just got near his trait, I should say. It gives him stealth at the start of the battle. However, it permanently grants invisible, which is even a better version, at the start of the battle if he is ascended. Now, look here. The basic attack does Intrigue 3, stacks up to 20 times on the enemy, and each stack removes 20 defense. It's a lot of defense. It's 400 defense flat he's removing, okay? Keep that in mind so you can have percentage reduction removals. Then you can have this flat defense removal too, which will stack. Now, if you look at this here, he grants him a Rage every time he basic attacks. So let's look at his ultimate real quick to understand how that works. He expends all his Rage to enter a state of madness, grants a bonus turn for every 1 Rage spent, exits the madness state after all bonus turns are used up. So let's say he gets 5 Rage, he gets 5 bonus turns. Seems pretty good. You might be thinking, yeah, but he's only getting 1 Rage when he's basic attacking, so maybe he's getting 1 bonus turn every now and then. Well, look, this is where really his kit comes together. He randomly selects an ally that when they use a basic ability, then he launches a joint attack with his basic ability. So if you can repeatedly use the basic ability on the hero that this random is selecting, then you can consistently have Jacob go over and over and over again. For instance, there's other people like Imogen that use a basic ability when they get called to assist. So if he lands on that person and then she goes from being called assist, he goes, you can see why that would be quite good. And then because he's using the basic ability, once again, he's stacking not only the Intrigue to reduce their defense, he's also stacking Rage, which would then give him significant bonus turns, which once again, if I'm paired with someone like Imogen, he goes over and over again with his turns, Imogen's then popping off right there with him. So he pairs very well with other heroes, can do significant burst damage, has a unique kit, and overall is just one of my favorite epics. Scarlet's another epic that I really like that pairs very well with other bleeders. The way her whole kit works here, Scarlet accompanied with a wolf at the start of the battle. Wolf deals 30% damage to an enemy, 50% chance to apply poison, okay? And essentially, if you ascend her, it's all enemies take 50% more damage from bleeding, okay? Which is why you really want her. So you're going to need her ascended for her to be good. And the wolf, when he attacks, has a chance of applying bleeding as well. Okay, so let's figure out how the wolf works. Look at the basic attack here. She has a 100% chance to bleed herself on the basic. So you can see that's pretty good, right? Joint attacks, calling in like William, something like that could pair very well. Look at this here. Here we go. At the end of the turn, deals damage based upon the caster's attack. Okay, which is hopefully going to be fairly high. We have A tier attack here. Any attack against any enemy affected by bleeding triggers a bonus wolf attack. Transfers lethal damage against this character to any wolves present. Meaning, if instead of her dying, the wolf will die instead, which is a really interesting point in Guild Boss when it comes to like getting punched, etc., which we can talk about in a little bit. Okay. Any attack against an enemy affected by bleeding, not any attack that infects with bleeding, but any enemy who's already got bleeding on them gets attacked, triggers a bonus wolf attack. And as you can see here, the wolf deals 50% damage to the target with a 50% chance of applying bleeding, or 30% damage with the same 50% chance if he's not ascended. So you can see where the bleeding starts to get really good when it paired with the ascended version. Enemies take 50% more damage from bleeding. And then you go here on the ultimate, deals 150% damage to an enemy in a 3-pronged attack, each strike of which either has 100%, 50%, or 30% chance to apply bleeding for 3 turns, and summons a wolf if there's none present. So you can apply 3 stacks of bleeding again on her ultimate here. I think this pairs very well with Windstrex being able to reset her ult. However, they're opposite affinity, so it just never really works. So in my opinion, bleeding teams can be good. I think bleeding teams will see a meta very akin to poison once 2 things happen. Once the bleeding people become good enough to support Scarlet. Like, I don't think the other bleeders are as good enough to really make her exciting, and we need some major like bleeding focused legendary to really round this kit out. You can see where the kit's good. It has A tier attack, A tier speed, A tier crit, even B tier health, only C tier defense, but all the other ones are fairly well rounded, and 50% more damage from bleeding, and having the wolf to constantly attack plus the non-lethality damage. Really a good epic to keep your eyes on for the future of the game. Last but not least, it's Antwina. She has been consistently shown to do exceedingly high damage, primarily on single target damage. We'll go ahead and look into it and look at the way it works here. Look at this. Grants Unicorn Blessing at the start of the battle. However, if you have her all the way, applies Unicorn Blessing at the start of every round, can be triggered once per 4 rounds. And then you look at the basic attack here. 100% damage to an enemy. If she has Unicorn Blessing, then launches a bonus basic ability against the target. So you can see you get a go again, okay? Looking at this, the A2, 150% damage to an enemy and grants the blessing to this character. So you just do good damage, get the basic again, double attack with the basic again. You can see how it works. Then look at the ultimate, 200% damage to an enemy. If this character has Unicorn's blessing, then grants a bonus turn. So effectively, if you have the blessing, you deal bonus damage. Look, when attacking, deals 30% bonus damage. When attacked, reduces damage taken. Remove this effect upon taking damage. So you try to get rid of it as quick, or not get rid of it, but you try to use all your damage, your burst, before you get hit. So basically you ult with this, which gives you a bonus turn at that point, and you can either, if you would like to, what you can do is basic attack to get the 2 bonus basics again, then you get attacked, it drops away, then you use the A2 to get Unicorn's Blessing 1 more time on you, and then you can use your basic again if you have another bonus turn from like Eve's First Dawn or something like that, etc. That's basically how it works. She does consistent damage. The thing is, she has S tier attack and A tier crit and B tier speed. So she has all the stats that matter when it comes to the guild boss, especially because since she's green, you need green DPSers. You have like Ever and stuff, but there's not like a ton of really single target green DPSers, and she hits really hard. So primarily I'm mentioning her for the clan boss, where she's going to be really good when you have a water-based guild boss. That is when she's really going to shine, or if you need high tier single target damage as the game develops further, okay? The problem is poison metas and all that are kind of the thing at the moment. That, or you can just straight out nuke most people with AoE when it comes to farming. So she's not really used in farming. She is used in some dungeons, but not to the point where she's required, or even like a top tier version of what she does in those dungeons. So for that reason, I think she's good, not completely OP busted, unless we're talking about guild boss. Then she's maybe arguably the best green DPS in the game for that, which is why I wanted to mention her. Plus, I haven't mentioned her on this channel before. So those are, in my personal opinion, my 4 that I think maybe not necessarily the very best in the entire game, but 4 of my really favorites that are core and important to the average person's gameplay. So if you pull them, check them out, see what you think. Let me know your 4 favorite epics, or just let me know your favorite epic if you want in the comments. I love y'all. Thanks for liking the video. Thanks for subscribing to my channel and supporting me, and I'll see you on the next one.